It's been a journey. So, I mean, we grew up in an era where this wasn't something that was discussed at school or wasn't highlighted. And I've always had a really, really good ability to recall information. So it's been a superpower of mine in a way, really, where I can read something, listen to something, take something in, and it's there for recall, which I've used and lent on that. But equally, simple tasks where it's formulaic, ordered processing it's just can melt me, absolutely melt me. Whereas I can do some sort of ridiculous thing over here, and then you could say, right, you just need to get that appointment to match up with that appointment and do this over here. And I'm like, well, someone's going to have to sort me out for this because that's not helpful. And I kind of found that it held me back in a way initially.
Well done. You have finally discovered the most important health podcast you will ever need as a medical professional. The conversations you are about to hear are guaranteed to change your clinical practice and hopefully transform you into a better conversationalist. They could even make you better crack at parties. Welcome to Teacup, where swearing is guaranteed.
Hang on a second. It is live. Are we live? Yeah, I think we are. I've done that before. We're like chatting offline or online, and I'm like, I missed a load of classic things there. I've had to. I think with Matt Phillips last time we had to re-record. I was like, he was about to launch into something, and I stopped the recording. So I was like, right, get back on again. So it's good to have you on.
Yeah, good to be here. Thanks for asking me.
Thanks, Matt. Yeah, and as if I don't know if you've listened before, but certainly what we like to start with is quick fire questions.
Yeah, I'm a tiny bit nervous about this, if I'm honest. I've watched a few, and you've had a few people on the rack with this, so yeah.
I absolutely love. My kids love this. They always go to me, Dad. I'm like, bang, 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 bang.
I'm going to try and be quicker than a few of your previous guests.
Oh yeah,
Matt.
Matt. Yeah, good man. Right, we're going to go. So I'm trying to go a little bit. Some of them are similar, some of them are different. Right, South America or North America?
South America.
That was easy. No offense to North Americans, but just too many other cultural things in South America.
That's drugs as well. So yeah.
That's it. Yes, they sell lidocaine and other useful drugs down there. Great answer.
Gonna get cancelled before we start.
Good. That'll stop me having to do it, and then that would work. Really
get your
well.
evenings back.
Yeah, just be like, so it wasn't working. Shark or whale?
Shark.
Oh yeah. I do start to kind of go, I want to explore these questions, but I can't because then I break my own rules.
They're more exciting.
They are, yeah. Shark, good. No, whales are blue whale like. Anyway. Physio or coach?
Coach, definitely.
Rotator cuff or shoulder instability?
Rotator cuff.
Leeds United or Man United?
Man United all day long. That's a bad second.
Oh wow! I was like, maybe Sheffield. Would Sheffield be worse than Man United?
No, Sheffield. No.
I mean, they're a bit too. I think I picked the two.
Huddersfield. They'd be worse than.
Right. Well, I just thought they'd be small cheese now. Oh. Supposed to be the quick fire, but I like it. I want to ask questions about that now. Music or podcasts?
Oh, podcasts. Only just podcasts recently. Got into a big way, yeah.
We might get into that. Dark, sweaty club or open air arena?
Open air arena.
Cocktails or mocktails?
Cocktails.
Ski or sun?
Oh, sun.
Lateral raise or banded external rotation?
Of the two, lateral raise.
I had you there. Okay, I didn't think that was going to get you.
Yeah,
I was like going, oh God,
that's for two evils now. I mean, they're both got merits, but yeah.
Yeah, brilliant. And then obviously falling into the music one. If you heard the previous podcast, then what with regards to your style or how you are as a person, what kind of music would reflect that, or how would you want to use music in you as a person or personality?
This is a great question. And whenever I've listened to your podcast before and thought about what people said, they've had some really profound answers. And I'm thinking, I'm not that profound. I'm just a normal bloke. the one thing that people
status quo.
Yeah,
Status quo. No, as in the band status quo, whatever. Whatever you want.
I think, well, one of my colleagues the other week were talking to me about this, and he was saying about he said the Chumbawamba, because people get knocked down and get back up again, but that wouldn't be what I would pick. I don't know, I'm 100 mile an hour. I am definitely neurodiverse. I am all over the place, but get things done whilst being in that sort of mindset. And so my music would be more like, I don't know if you're familiar with the group Galantis, probably Peanut Butter Jelly. It's been used on a few adverts and a few game shows and stuff. You'd recognise it, but it's just all over the shop. But it's very high energy, focus, boom, we're gone. So that'd be me as a person, but that's not me as a therapist. I'm much more of a listener, communicator, so I'd try and take my time, be a bit more chilled, like something by Jungle, Beat 54. It's all good now.
Yeah.
But if I'm in the gym and I'm rehabbing someone that's high level, that'd be probably something like Harder, Better, Faster, Stronger by Daft Punk.
Yeah, Daft Punk. Nice work. I should have worn my Daft Punk t-shirt.
Have you got one?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, good man. Yeah.
Got a little top three. I always say top three, but I'm pretty sure they're. I saw them in London for their Alive tour.
Yeah.
You know that, and that's probably one of the best albums and best live things I've ever been to. It was unbelievable.
Was it the one before it?
It was the Triangle.
Yeah,
it was the Triangle, and they kept doing all that. It was unbelievable. They just belted, and it was that time where they belted out everything you wanted to hear in the best order possible.
I can't remember whether that became before the Pharrell Williams collaboration or part of it was the.
I think it was. I'm going to guess it was before. It would have been 2006, maybe 7. Can't remember, but they released it as an album as well. The Alive tour.
Yeah,
it's quality. But I found a little t-shirt shop that makes like little tiny embroidered. So they'll have like really small. You wouldn't see it, but they do things for like the Beastie Boys. I've got the 4 lads, the Beastie Boys, but it's really small stitching, and I've got the same for Daft Punk. So I wore my Bruce Lee one, but I should have wore that for Matt last time. You know,
that is an area where I've got a big black hole of knowledge about that. I've listened to some of the stuff you talked about. Don't ask me about Bruce Lee. I'm not going to be able to answer anything. Ask me about music until the cows come home. Sport, I'll be there, but not Bruce Lee.
Can I ask you about? So it's quite a popular. Not popular sounds really patronising actually, but I think it's a good thing. It's kind of like it's helped me. I think a lot of people have said this. Like Gráinne Donnelly's been on here as well. She mentioned it about her brother and just being like more conscious of neurodivergence. And you know, it can be probably annoying for people who are, and it uses like a buzz term, or people kind of call themselves that. It used to, you know, people used to kind of say they were OCD when they weren't truly OCD. They were just a bit tidy. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And then you've got people who are. I think, you know, we're all on the spectrum somewhere here, like, you know, but how, just on you specifically, because you were kind of quite different, where you were kind of like a bit mental, like all over the place mental kind of thing, you know, but then yet with patients, you're quite calm and chill. What did you take time to kind of adapt, or how did you get to that stage? Or
yeah, it's been a journey. So, I mean, we grew up in an era where this wasn't something that was discussed at school or wasn't highlighted, and I've always had a really, really good ability to recall information. So it's been a superpower of mine in a way, really, where I can read something, listen to something, take something in, and it's there for recall, which I've used and lent on that. But equally, simple tasks where it's formulaic, ordered processing is just can melt me, absolutely melt me. Whereas I can do some sort of ridiculous thing over here, and then you could say, right, you just need to get that appointment to match up with that appointment and do this over here. And I'm like, well, someone's going to have to sort me out for this because that's not helpful. And I kind of found that it held me back in a way initially, and then I found that I could play to my strengths. So I have almost like 2 separate lives within department. One is a very much, I'm with the team, I'm part of the team, I lead from the front, full energy, discuss everything obviously in a professional way, but making it fun. And then as soon as I get that patient in, it's just a mask comes over, different person, professional, slower, much more considerate. And I think it's a skill that I've fine-tuned over 20 years of practice now, and it's I hope people can see that in that work with me, but it's not something that I've consciously done. I don't think it's just happened and organically grown with time.
Did you get feedback?
Do I get feedback?
Or
Probably.
did you get, or even did you?
Yes.
Or some, was there anything that stood out that made you go, all right, okay, I need to sort that out? Or
first IPR, band 5, I was a band 5 from a band 6 of mine. On first rotation, described me as an overstimulated Dalmatian. Written it down as well. And it's in.
A Dalmatian that's just done a line of cocaine.
Yeah, something like that. Been in South America for his holidays. Yeah.
Gonna loop that back.
Yeah, absolutely. That was in and it's an old-fashioned IPR where you get them written down and you could see them in quotation marks. I thought, my God, really took me back, and I thought, well, it could go two ways here. I could actually die on this hill, or I could, think about what do I do about this. So I tried to temper myself, but you can't reinvent yourself. You are who you are. So I thought, well, I'm going to have to go a different direction here and embrace who I am, but make it fit where I'm working. And that wasn't easy, really. And I sort of took a slow progression to get in a band 6, probably because of that. I was probably deemed a little bit more immature at that stage, about 2006, 7. And then I had a great band 7 at the time who kind of got me, but didn't ever say, I think you need to just chill out. You need to just chill out, man. She just gave me some direction and really helped my career in a lot of ways, and sorted the organisational stuff out. From there, it just, that was when it sort of lit the blue touch paper, really.
So I'm gonna focus again in it. So what it was you said a she, I think, was it? Yeah. So again, what was the can you remember the emotions around the time, about like how you felt prior to her? What did she do that made you feel that you could what was, can you explore that a bit?
I'm getting heavy. I didn't realise this was going to be therapy. I was like, this is
Come on, Matt.
I had no trauma in my childhood, honestly.
This is good stuff. No, the reason I ask you as well, and I know because people do avoid the proper emotion side of things, and if you wanted to share it now, if it's too much, again, I don't want you to feel. But like, I think it'd be really useful, and I don't think I've ever gone there with anyone on the podcast. So I think it'd be just the way you said it. I was thinking, it'd be great to be able to, if you could remember, because there's guarantee of people going, I'm at that level now, and I am a Dalmatian on Charlie. What am I going to do? So
it's going to be a meme somewhere. This, I took it hard. But I think the way that I am made as a person is that if I don't succeed the first time, I go at it harder and harder and harder until I do. That's the way I've always worked. You smash the wall down in front of you. You work harder until you achieve your goals. And for me, in that respect, it wasn't necessarily doing an exercise that I'd been used to or trying to be faster or stronger or something. It was about reformulating how I worked. So I took it hard, because I remember the first comment about the Dalmatian, joking aside, that was back in 2005, qualified then. And it took me until about 2007 to get my act together with, not from that incident, but just get my idea of where I was going in my career and what I needed to do to get there. But it all stemmed from the same thing. And that 2007 incident, at that time, again, I took it hard that I got this feedback from an IPR saying, you just need to just be a little bit more calm. You need to look at your organisational skills a bit more and get these things in order, because you're missing things by not having the sort of basics in place. And I took it really personal. I was like, I am an organised person. I'm conscientious. And then when I stood back and I was really reflective, I thought, they've got a point here. I can either listen to these experts and take on board what they're telling me, or I can just ignore it and be the same version again and again. And I decided to take the advice, and it's paid dividends really over time.
Yeah, I think it's what me and Ben Cormac, we had a big conversation, because I think it's probably one of the first ones I did. So we kind of stuck into this a lot about why people, don't value communication, or certainly don't see it. And because of what you just said there, that kind of like that feedback, it wasn't like you're not assessing patients correctly. It's a bit like you're not organized. Your personality is being challenged to some degree, which I think is probably one of the hardest things you get. People, it's you, isn't it? It's your identity. And you're like going, should I change my identity after studying for 3 years or whatever it may be, even longer? So it's kind of like, obviously you reacted well. Do you think there's anything, so maybe if I won't push you too much on maybe what she did, apart from just point, maybe she did it in I'm going to offer a potential suggestion. Like, she did it in a way that was more acceptable potentially. Did she deliver it in a way that was less kind of like, the same guy who did the other one was kind of, it's just the right wing version of what she's done, really, isn't it?
Yeah,
She's Donald,
yeah.
he's Donald Trump Jew,
Yeah.
and she's Jeremy Corbyn Jew.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That kind of way.
Yeah.
So, like, what is it? Was there anything there in that you can remember, or is it too far back?
I think the two approaches complement each other. So the fact that I had this sandwich approach where it was brought up twice, that it was brought up different ways, maybe really realised. But no, I'm someone who'd react more from a tell you straight down the line, the right wing way of, you know, pull your socks up, do it properly or don't do it at all. Whereas as a manager, I would never use that with another member of staff now. It'd be complete career suicide. I just wouldn't get the reaction.
It's person suicide as well, isn't it? Really, it's terrible.
Yeah.
You can't, like, you know, we are joking, but like, you just that's never gonna, like, people would, you know, the argument would be, well, look what you did. It was the right thing for you because now look at you, 100%. You're successful and all that, and you could argue that. I suppose, but
don't you think we grew up in a different time though? I mean, the stuff that's acceptable now that wasn't back then, and it shouldn't have been back then, but it wasn't brought to everyone's attention all the time, and I think things have moved for the better, definitely. But it was, even though it's 20 years ago, it was a different time. Massive changes happened.
Yeah, you can apply that directness with once you understand people, and I think you can do it in a way that's not, you know, you can definitely be direct and you can be fluffy with people and you can put your arms around the usual kind of stuff, but it's just, I'm interested in anyone who's listening to, like, are you actually looking at that? Are you actually looking at the person in front of me? Because I'll definitely catch myself sometimes doing supervisions with people and you're just like, I have to remember who I'm talking to before, like, I'm not giving the same answer, no different to a patient. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not giving the same show. I'm often giving the same advice, but just in a different way, like, as you well know, you know.
And that is the thing, that as a good communicator and a good clinician, you pick up on, you get to know the nuances of personal, independent people who's got like a certain personality, different traits, different how they're going to react to certain things. And there's ones you would never ever directly go down that line, and other ones where you think, right, they're going to react well to a bit more directness, but maybe not the Dalmatian analogy.
Do you spot people now who you work with? You don't have to name, obviously, but do you spot anyone in your workforce you're like going, right, they're similar to me?
Yeah, all the time, yeah. And you want to put your arm around them and just say, just follow me, just see where we can go, and just guide them a little bit more. And 100%. I can think of 3 off the top of my head. Yeah.
And do you think there's another one as well? Do you think other members of staff in your position, does it drive them mental, or, you know, does it drive them mad, you know, from the point of view of like, oh, you know, that person's there? Because I often see it as well as like going, you know, you see some members of staff and you're like going, other ones going, oh, I can't deal with them. They work in such a, and you're like going, yeah, but if you figure this out, and you're going, I don't care. They just can't deal with it, like, you know what I mean?
I'm real lucky. I work with 2 other band 7s who are brilliant, and they basically, the 3 of us have all got very different skill sets, and we're exceptionally good at knowing where they overlay, and we work superbly as a team. But my thought process, the people just can't always follow where I'm going. I get from point A to B, but not via the direct route. It's just, you know, we'll come up with different scenarios, so, which is good.
Yeah. And I think that's, like, it kind of comes down to what you're saying before, which I think was really good for people to hear who work in the NHS, was, you know, I was always trying an advocate of how do you can't pay anyone anymore. So as a manager, how do you motivate your staff? How do you get staff excited about working in the NHS? And it was never a focus on that. You know, it's always about like waiting times, and it's like going, right, you can't pay them more, but you can make them feel valued through something, you know, even education or whatever it might be. So you were saying, which kind of ties into 2 things. You work with these 2 people who kind of support your type of thinking. It's different. So you got 3 people, all different, approaching in a different way. And then you tell us about that thing you had today, which I thought was quite interesting.
We've had, like most places across the NHS, quite a challenging time with waiting lists recently, and we came up with a new process which enabled us to evaluate what we do and how we take patients on, and then we sifted through the system, and it just became quite streamlined and everything. But it was a massive team effort. I'm not talking, we gave the band 8s and the team leaders came up with the idea, and we went through the whole sort of process. But on that journey, you needed another 40 people with you on the same journey. It needed to be a team collaboration. And if we hadn't had such a good team, it would have fallen down at the first hurdle. So when that happened, we've managed to get the waiting list down by let's say 80% without quoting exact figures. We then looked at how we could then impact the patient, the physios that had been involved in it. So how do you give that back to them in the NHS setting? So you quite rightly just pointed out we could, training maybe, improve CPD budgets, help them with one-to-one stuff, coaching. And we do a lot of social stuff down where we are. We've got some great people that are really good at putting out like football events, everything from like socialising, going out, flight club, that type of thing. And we're really good. We do it quite regularly and go out for meals and stuff. But the thing we did today, we tried to do an award ceremony within the trust. So it was within the physiotherapy department, about 50 people. People got to put nominations in. And the nice thing about it that I thought, which was a suggestion of the manager of our department, was that if you got nominated, you kept a certificate and it had actually what the person had said about you on it. So it goes in your CPD folder, looks really nice, really smart, and it gives them an insight as to you're a valued member of the team. That person's gone out of the way to put something on paper for you to say what they think about you. And then if you won it, a box of chocolates and a certificate. So it was a really nice day, actually, but it meant that people were motivated again. And when you've got a motivated team around you, you get more stuff done. You are more streamlined. You're thinking as one. You're more likely to come up with different coping methods or different initiatives to try and make the patient journey better. Not, I hasten to use the word, get the wait list down. It's making it more efficient, making it targeted to the patient and their needs and wants, and making it more effective for them.
It's class. And I'm not like, it's one of those really, it's a simple thing. There's a couple of things again jumped into my mind. So there's a guy called, I don't know if you've ever heard of Rory Sutherland. He's written a book called Alchemy about psychologic and, the power of psychology and marketing. Big,
You actually mentioned him to when we were in the car last time when I checked it out, I'm sure.
But yeah, I'm obsessed with him at the moment. But I've always been obsessed with the psychology part of marketing and why we buy stuff. Like I was in a car, we were looking at a new car, and we went it's a 7-seater that we're looking at. And we were just chatting to the guy, and he was really sound. And he just went, look, all of these 5 cars are the same car. And then he went, so VW, Audi, and he just went through. He said Audi, then VW, then Seat, Skoda, and I can't remember what the other one was. Right? He said they're all the same car. And I was just like, it's mental, isn't it? Like he said, bar like some inside stuff, and one company might say it's this and that. He says, but it's fuck all, basically, right? It's the same car. So you're buying a brand, you are buying, I drive this car, that's what I am. Which is, it's the same as what Rory says in like having a Ferrari in London is just status symbol. A Ferrari in London is the stupidest car you'd ever buy. Like it just doesn't work for any reason apart from I have so much wealth, I can drive a Ferrari, And so the idea of that kind of alchemy, which is where you create, like, he's got all these ideas about how to make train travels. You can't make the trains faster. It's so expensive and it'll take too long. But just making the journey time better, and the experience better. So like what you just said there is like, it's so cool. It's like, box of chocolates. I don't think the box of chocolates was a nice touch. But that idea that someone said something about you is a massive motivator. You'd kind of be thinking, if we do this next year, that'll be a cool, it's a proper, ego, but in a good way. Because like we're in there, like it's the same reason why we see patients and we get them better and they say, oh, best physio I've ever had, or, you really helped me out. And, it's a proper buzz, isn't it?
Absolutely.
And I think if your colleagues are doing that, like how is that, like you should patent that. but like hopefully people are looking around and going, like, we're doing initiatives down in Cornwall. I will definitely be recommending that as a kind of thing to do, because that people, as you said, it's always like, oh, well, we'll try and improve this, improve that, but it either gets diluted or it's not really valued because you're not valued as yourself.
Yeah.
So it's a brilliant piece of alchemy. Rory Sutherland would be very proud of you. That was really good. And again, I put down share it through the UK, so hopefully it'll catch on, because I think that's a simple way of making your staff feel valued. I think
it's massive. Staff motivation is huge. We've recently had issues with this, and it's been the difference in the department when you've got a motivated team around you who are all pulling in the same direction. It's night and day. It is night and day. It makes such a difference.
Yeah, brilliant. Well, it's slightly because obviously you're involved in not only as like, obviously an upper limb specialist, and you're also involved in Simply MSK, which is an education company, which we've had chats before about. It sounds brilliant. It's coming from a really good place as well. Some looking at good quality, which is great. I suppose what I want to talk about is, I've got one question. I just want to I had to write it down. So what do you think about the current delivery of conferences and courses?
Yeah.
And how can we improve them? Just even as a blank canvas. Like, I know they have to be delivered in a certain way at the moment. I deliver a course in that way, etc. But what do you think? Do you think should we change it, or should it be changed?
Needs mixing up. I mean, I haven't been to every course that's been around recently, but I've been to a fair few, and we fall into this trap about delivering training to a group of people who use their hands, and a kinetic in the delivery about how they deliver things to a static audience at a lectern, delivering an information dump on people, and then we've touched upon it actually. We took, and this wasn't a podcast about neurodivergency, but you've got this emerging group of people who are more in tune with their learning style than ever before. People who learn through hearing, seeing, doing, touching, feeling, but it's that muscle memory, and I'm trying to think what we do at Simple MSK is we try and mix it up. So we've got like the webinars, we've got the seminars, but we've also got things that are hands-on. We do a lot of ultrasound as well. So when that happens, you're in the audience, you're seeing it, you're coming down to the front of the stage, you're right by the model. If we're doing a test, it's like, well, let's see one, feel one, do one type of thing. And you get that feeling, that feedback. And that to me is what physiotherapy is about. We're not sat behind a desk, tapping away at a computer and saying, oh yeah, well, here you go, there's your exercise sheets. We should be actually making physical contact with people, or watching their exercise regime and saying, how can I tweak that? So I think I've been to some really inspirational stand-up lectures. I've done a few this year actually that have been really, really good. And I've gone away and thought, I must try that technique. But for me, the best ones I've ever been to have been the ones that have been hands-on, or you've been using the model and you think, oh, I could feel that. That person's done that to me, and I want to recreate that. So I think a mix, it's got to be a mix, because we've got so many people who learn different ways. But as long as you're covering the basis of like the webinars, the seminars, the hands-on courses, as well as the practical stuff, and going through the practical regime and tweaking it, changing it, seeing how an expert does it, I think that's the way we need to be moving forward.
So what are the problems I would say is when I was a therapist, and I suppose I was probably slightly different because I had a cloudy version of where I wanted to get to, and never was like, oh yeah, I'm definitely going to do this or any of the stuff I've done, to be honest. It was kind of always like I wanted to improve, but I wasn't quite sure where the end goal was. But I would then kind of see where opportunities were, I tried to look for what was around, and could I kind of get in on something, and then see if would that go. And that's how I did it really. It's like I started off in hips, if you like, because I got interested, because a surgeon kind of came to our whole physio department and was like, can we get better at rehab? And I was like going, yeah, because it's crap at the moment. Got an absolutely shitload of abuse for that. Like, physios were not happy with me standing up and going, we are crap at it, it's not good. But interestingly, out of that came him saying to me, why don't you come and sit with me, and so I like what you're saying, and can we get it better? And then that kind of guided my CPD, right? So then I ended up doing a James Moore course, and and then it kind of, James was talking about S&C a lot, and then I did a master's in sports. It kind of snowballed. It was just like out of these little bits. Now I don't want to, I suppose I was lucky in some ways, because that happened, lucky / opportunistic. What do you think about people, selecting education, like, and how where does it start with them? Because obviously you're just like, oh, do you just pick a course? What's your, how are we going to get that better?
That's a massive area. It's white noise out there. If you look at what the courses that are available, there's tons, and there's some good quality stuff, and there's also some bits that are less good quality, shall we say. But the difficulty for the new Band 5s finding the feet is, who do they listen to? Is it the Band 6, Band 7, Band 8? Are they looking at someone who's a clinical expert, Instagram? Are you looking on a reputable website that's well known for different courses? And I actually asked this question to one of my Band 6 colleagues not so long ago. We were talking about this. I said, well, what course have you done, and what do you want to do in the future? We're kind of having a bit of an informal chat about where he was heading. And he just basically gave me a few examples, and they were very much wide-based, some gimmicky treatment as well. And it got me thinking, because a lot of the newly qualified want a quick fix. So when you've learned the basis of physiotherapy. I think some illusional, there's a curtain around it. It's like, when am I going to get to be that amazing master of physiotherapy where I can fix everyone that walks in the door? And the answer is that's not going to happen. But when you're a band 5 and a band 6, that's possibly going to happen. So you want your things that are passive treatments, like your acupuncture, your cupping, maybe your Mulligan treatment, your Maitland treatment. And I grew up with being taught Maitland, sort of a purist form of Maitland assessment and treatment. But when you then build on that and you get that experience, you think, right, now we need to build on what is the evidence base. So where's the evidence base leading as well? It's S&C. It's a lot more science based. It's a lot more, well, what are we doing the right reps? We do the right sets. And that's when you really want to be guiding people. So in answer to your original question, I've gone on off tangent a tiny bit, is there's so much white noise out there that it's really difficult for the new band 5s to figure out where to go. And I do think it's a case of, I've picked a course, I've done that, I feel better when I do everything that course has told me for the next week, because that's what we all do. We walk away with like, that technique we've done now, I'm going to do it all next week, and then work from there and find out what the next step is. I think there needs to be some guidance, and that's where companies like ours at Simple MSK want to get that gold standard seal of approval by people that have been on our courses and said, these guys can connect us with the right experts at the right time, and these are going to be a quality assurance badge and umbrella for the whole gambit, so they can sift out for me and work out that we're not going to end up on a course that's just a fly-by-night, really.
So that's interesting because it loops back to a word we said kind of way back at the beginning, which I think you were saying about, you actually mentioned collaboration with your two colleagues, your Band A colleagues, that nice balance between the three of you. And that actually, no, it was off air. Actually, you'd said, the power of collaboration was
huge,
was important. You know what I mean? How huge it was. And again, it's like communication, difficult to sometimes understand. But that idea that you guys are doing like high quality education, trying to help people, guide them towards a goal. And that kind of ties in with, like, for example, myself and the two Andys, Andy Hosgood and Andy Thomas, are doing we've changed the name, actually. We've officially called it Unbound Project now, rather than the Odin Project. But we have to have a quick name change. But it's a reason I mention it is because we're talking about kind of a different area of education to get people using your quality education. So this collaboration of, we start with the therapist themselves, and it doesn't have to be a physio, it could be a dentist if they want to be, but like really starting with them and saying, where are they going? Where do they want to be? And what does that look like? And be in a room full of other people thinking the same thing. And you are not coming out of a room of people thinking like that at the end of the day in a coaching format without a load of ideas and excitement. And if part of that's like, right, well, these guys provide high quality education, and that looks like where your gap is right now, you go and speak to them, And I think that's kind of what our vision is. And it sounds like when I've been speaking to you before, is that collaboration between people doing the right stuff in this space and trying to look for that next new thing, not just fitting into that old way of doing it, like you said. And it ties into the neurodiversity as well. Like, who we got, some of that might suit you, but this might suit somebody else. And constant signpost and collaboration, I think, is the way forward. And I'm not sure what you think.
100%. I mean, it's bridging that gap, isn't it? So if you've got someone up in Inverness that wants a really good hip course, and you've got someone like Mehmet Jem down at Plymouth Way, Exeter Way, whatever, and you wanting to collaborate together, and it's like, well, how does someone like that's a band 6 that doesn't know anyone do it? Well, they reach out to an intermediary, like using the what did you call it? It's not the Odin Project anymore, sorry.
No, it's called Unbound Project.
So, like the Unbound, or like if we've got like our heat map where we can pick out different areas in the country, it might be that you connect the two together. And I think that's the thing that's going to be a big game change for people, because technology is there now where you can reach out and you can message people, but also speak to them a bit easier than you could maybe 10, 15 years ago. And also travel, it's dead easy to get around the country, and you can put things on from a webinar all the way through to a face-to-face, depending on what the wants and needs are of that client group, really.
And I think we probably, it's a good point what you're saying there as well. And I think what we're trying to do, and it sounds like what you're saying there as well, is that it's like people should be on a learning journey. And of course you might start with, like, I remember it was nearly like a course and then like, now decide. It should nearly be like the course and then this and then this, to a certain degree, like that's going to then, and then your project is for the next 3 months is to implement that, not just for a week. And then you're going to teach that. You're going to teach that to your colleagues. That's built into the contract that you've done about going on that course, And then you're like, and then once I've done that, then that will lead to this. And then in the meantime, I'm looking for opportunity, because I don't think we're taught to think like that. We're taught to kind of be like, right, you're a physio now you should know shit, and you know nothing. And it's completely, as you said, it's like what's the guy, the wizard in the Wizard of Oz, you know what I mean? You're like, I'm going to be able to treat everyone. Then it turns around, it's a small little dude behind the curtain. You're like, by the way, you're not going to be able to do that. It's a complete myth. And you're just like, oh, right. So you get that kind of drop off, don't you? So I think, we need to look at, and this education as a it was really cheesy, but journey, that journey will change, because you might be like, I'm here, actually, this isn't for me, but there's a whole bunch of stuff that I put in place that will allow me to go here now. And in that time, like if you're dealing with the likes of you guys, you're going to pick up again, a dirty word like networking, which sounds like I always think networking sounds like you're in a shit hotel with like sticky carpet and, with name badges. Lanyard. So I think, it's interesting to know, like, when you guys were looking at your business as well, like, did you take anything outside of your standard what outside of medical stuff did you look at, or what were the things that you maybe pulled into your business model, or how you want to see yourself?
The main ethos about the Simple MSK was making it MDT, which kind of fits in with what you're saying. So we were looking at this from a quality control point of view. So we're all friends to start off with, and we work in different sectors. We've got two docs with us, so they're both sports and exercise physicians. And then we've got 3 APP physios, so two lower limb and myself upper limb. And we looked at the journey from when you've got someone coming in through the front door of A&E all the way through to like an acute MSK service, to maybe back to GP, do they need imaging, radiology, back to seeing as if it's not settled down in maybe the community MSK team, and then back through physio. And we're looking at that journey and thinking, well, what skills do people need to be able to pick these things up at different time points, and where do we fit into this? So we've gone at it from a different angle. So we tried to keep it MDT based. So radiology, what do they think? What do the docs think? How are they going to assess things differently? Mechanisms king, right? Well, what does that mean for us? Do we treat that differently? And if it's a fracture, are we then dealing with it by the fracture clinic, or is there any input that physios can put into it? And we're taught to be physios, we're not taught to be part of that medical extension, and that's what we are. We're allied health professionals, and we need to be looking at things from a holistic point of view, but then being able to take the good bits away that we can learn from other people, and the good bits that we deliver, and put them together and say, look, I'm a more well-rounded therapist now, or a coach.
And that just made me think when you said journey, because that bulletproofs you for any change you would like as you go through your career. Because like, you might want to start off and think, I want to be a classic, I want to be with a sports team. And you go down that route. But if you kind of look at it as, well, I'm working in the NHS, there's no jobs in sport at the moment, right? Oh, well, I'm not in sport, so therefore, you can do your local team or whatever. But just say it's kind of hard, really, to get into professional sport. Whereas if you're in an NHS, like a department that you're describing, for example, you might be like, if I get a hold of the sports docs, there's an opportunity here to sit in here, or to see that, go and sit with radiology for a day and stuff like that. Because you may not want to think that that's going to be useful, but all these things will help when you go to a club that comes up for looking for a band 5 going, look, we need someone with this experience. And you've already started to develop that MDT approach as well. So it's just making sure that people are, it's looking at the whole journey, and there's crossover between that journey back and forth as well.
There's been a huge change in the recent past with FCPs popping up all over the place, and you've got, the different roles, the extended scope practitioner, and that changed to APP, and then people working in orthopedics alongside different practitioners. And we have an acute musculoskeletal clinic now where I work, which is much more of the front-facing acute therapy or acute management. And they're all needing the same skill set, but at different time points throughout the patient's journey. So you're looking at what you would need as an individual to help cope with that. And we never get taught imaging. We don't get taught about referral for imaging. We don't get taught about what our role is with referral back to GP. What should a letter include? What's the role of me in making this person's journey complete? You pick them up as you go along. And that's where we want to enhance that, where we're saying to people, look, come and listen to us. We'll teach you the bit that's the physiotherapy bit in the middle. We've got the medical side, and then we've got everything in between. We've got the bits about the management acutely, management chronically, the medical side of things, and then we've got the imaging and things and bits and pieces we can take from there.
Yeah, I'll break up the day as well, because it's quite nice to have that, but there's a journey. Like that was the thing. We did it in Derby there. I designed a conference, and we looked at, like, Mehmet did the introduction from the FCP. So you're a patient, you come in FCP. How do we improve the journey communication wise for the next stage, which was me introducing, like, how you decide. I use the food analogy, the Mexican food, the Italian food. Like, so how do you decide? Have you got an athletic population or a non-athletic population? And then Joe Gibson did the athletic population, Mike James did the non, and then to finish, Andrew Jaggi did the territory, when it all kind of goes a bit wrong, or just it's kind of in a way. So, but we looked at it exactly the same. It's that journey. So hopefully, if you go to a conference, though, sometimes it's just dotted. It's like, all right, I'm learning a bit about this and then about this, and you're walking around and maybe you'll get something off somebody's trying to sell you something, and then you'll go into a talk and it's completely different to the last talk. So you're trying to get your head around that, and it's all a bit disjointed. But like you're saying, you come in the morning, you're like, right, this is a kind of proper medical day. I'm looking at, and it's probably more digestible and a bit more kind of new and a bit more interesting, isn't it? Because you got a bunch of little TED Talks really about an area rather than just sometimes just too much of something, especially if you're trying to dip your toe in education as well, isn't it? You just want to just do a little bit rather than like a full 2 days.
Absolutely. Or you might see, like you said about the journey, you might see where you fit in that journey, or where it's knowing sometimes about education. What do I not know? What have I not got that skill base of? And that is the harder thing to answer, because you know what you know. It's the, what do they say? It's the unknowing knowing and the knowing unknowing, that type of thing, where you people who've got they're worried about what they know, but they're not aware of what they don't know, and that's the worry, and that's the risk.
What's your thoughts on like location for education? So, like, where it happens, do you think that matters? Does it matter depending on, should we be looking into things like that? Do you guys look into that? Why do you think it's important? Do you have any research around that?
So, been to a few different conferences that lend themselves to being the sort of lecture hall and the breakout rooms and things. Best springs to mind, where it's too big to make it boil down into a gym, and that suits its makeup, where you can go and listen in the big amphitheatre, get the key speaker, take some notes about that, and then break off into workshop rooms. That's really good. But the things that I've really got the most out of, we did a couple of sessions down at the Leeds Trinity University, and we worked in the sports rehab centre down there, and we just used the equipment, and we just said, right, hop on here, let's just have a look at your technique here, just knock out a squat for me, or can you do some work with lateral raises, or back to lateral raises again, cuff work, and then let's have a look and see how you perform in that, and how would you tell someone to progress it. And all of a sudden, you've got a practical session. So we'd gone away from, we had a PowerPoint behind us, and we were zipping through these things about tendinopathy. And all of a sudden, we're like, right, let's get the dynamometers out. Let's have a look at you on here. Let's do some force testing on you. What would you do to progress this? And I think the feedback we got from that session was far superior to the feedback we got from other ones. And even those had been practical, but they were in an amphitheatre setting. You came down from the front off your seat, writing your notes, to the front where there was a plinth, and you could get involved if you wanted. So, me personally, liking hands-on rehab, liking hands-on demonstration, practical, I think the gym setting is a much more informal environment. It makes people more relaxed. It's a familiar environment, or it should be to the most physiotherapists that we see. And it's something you can utilise. It's there, it's ready-made. It's something that's we're familiar with. You can show people your skills.
Yeah, I find that when I'm doing a course as well. It depends on, like, most of the time it can be in really basic physio departments, but the lucky times when I'm in a really nice gym as well, and it's hard because I'd love to do my course in that gym all the time, or in gyms like that, but you got to be realistic as well, and we're dealing with people who, sometimes, like I said, are Italian food. They just need one exercise and they need to be able to do it at home, and that's a one bed flat. Yeah. In a really impoverished area, and they've got nothing else, and they've got depression, and you literally have to give them a very basic thing. So it's all grand having the jazzy stuff, but I think from what my point though is, at least even if you have to give it to that person, you learning in an environment that kind of supports that kind of nearly like, all right, wow, this stuff is around. I could maybe even try and get some of this kit in my department. That's what I see is people come in and go, wow, does this even exist in departments? And you're like going, yeah, this is the way it is, you know. And you can see, so that's what I'm just interested in, I suppose, the different settings and even just the location of the place. Do you think as well, like certain locations get a better attention? Like I know it's hard sometimes if you're not measuring it, like people might say they like the venue or they don't, but do you think we should be paying a bit more attention? And would you, let me ask you this actually, would you pay a bit more money for a better venue, do you think?
That is a good question. Is it a
it
better,
is, yeah, I just thought of it.
is it a better venue as in a more affluent venue and something that's a bit prestigious, or
just nicer, just like as in, you know what I mean? Like you walk into it, like I you know what? In the past, I don't think I'd ever thought of it. I just was kind of conditioned to, we go to shit places or they're just basic. And I've been to some big conferences in Warwick University, and it's quite nice-ish, but it's still kind of like a big conference hall with a guy at the top or a woman at the top talking. But since going to certain places that were a little bit off piste, or it's like in a really nice, just a nice venue, or there's I'm trying to think of different examples, but like gyms would be a good one. But there's other places where I just come to have a meeting or a talk, and you're just like this is different. Like even the bar before you go in is kind of cool, like, you know. And I was just thinking, I was like, people are interested in that. But maybe they are.
I've
you know?
weirdly had a conversation with a couple of the medics about this, and they would be. That would be the first thing they'd look at. Whereas it's just as white noise, and we're like, I'm going on because it's this course or this speaker that's doing it. The only times where I've been wowed when we've been, the best, have had some fantastic places. I've thought, this is the real deal, this. And maybe I would if I now I'm getting a bit older. I'm like my comfy slippers. I'm like, oh yeah, very nice. I'm like the wine list there. That'd be good.
Yeah.
But no, I think the thing that sells a course for me is the content and the person speaking. The venue's a secondary thing. And if I'm honest, now that I've been at a few, so I've delivered a few courses, but also done many in the past, I think the venue for me, if it's a practical thing, is better in a gym. I would say I pay more attention. If it's in that lecture theatre setting, I just sometimes I'll find myself, I think, I've missed the last 10 minutes. I've just switched off. And I don't know if it's the fact that because I'd be sat down in both environments, but I think it just doesn't hold my attention as much as being in a gym.
Yeah, well, that's what my point is. That it's interesting. You say people will certainly purchase for, like, you know, they're going to go see Mickey Mouse in a really flash joint, like, you know what I mean. That's not what I mean. It's just, but I think my opinion is that when you get there, it does make, you know, you walk in and there's just that bit of decent coffee or something, which I never. Again, maybe it's because I'm getting older, but it's just. But we did it in Derby County's football ground, and I remember the lady who was like, "This is why I'm not." She's an event organizer, and you know when you meet somebody, you sometimes think like, "What's your job? How you know?" And when you see somebody doing it at a high level, you're just like, "Oh right, yeah, she is all over this." And then she was like, she'd say something about, "Oh, we've got these things," and I was like, "It's way over the top, right?" And we got these organized, this organized. And I was like going, and I walked into the room. It was in Derby County football ground, and I was like, "Fucking nice." And as a speaker, I was like, going, "This is cool." Like the pitch was there, but it's now like I wonder, like maybe until you get there. But then when you get there, because at the end of the day, people will come for the speakers, right? So you have to have that right. But then if you get there and the venue's mint, and you're like, so then is it going to elevate people's kind of even just respect on listening even more, or like you said, you're concentrating more. You're not looking at some drab 1970s windows that are fucking leaking water, you know what I mean? Which I've been to. Do you know what I mean? I just interested in you because you're an education company. You know, is that something that maybe something that we're missing a trick sometimes?
I think we've definitely buzzed off when we've had better venues and we've thought, the technology here, or something that might, like one of those trackpad things that you get where it's all on your automated, you can be touching stuff down here and it's working behind you. It blew me away, and I was like, wow, this is amazing. I'm so sad. Even like the wireless docks that they could charge the phones on the things, I was like, that's another level. It really tells you about I don't get how much, but yeah.
I don't know if it's a physio thing though. I think we're just a little bit like docs are just like, where's the food? Why are we doing it? We're definitely not doing it at the weekend. You know what I mean? Whereas like we're conditioned to be like, you know, oh, don't mind us. We'll be over here in the corner with like the scraps on the floor, you know, or there's a sandwich going. It's like, oh my God, this is amazing. Like, but so I think I think we're missing a trick, because I think we're the same as anyone else. We're humans that will probably do well from better environments. And like you said, people are now probably, I think the standards are going up. Just even like this, the states of podcasts, like, you know, before you could just chuck it like what I'm doing here, but people are now like in rooms mental mics and lights, you know, it's just next level stuff again. And, you know, you might think, well, does that matter? And if you listen to books in marketing and the likes of Rory Sutherland and all, it does.
You feel
it
like
kind
you're
of does, you know, it's just that
in
slickness.
That room with them. I've seen this. I thought this would be good for us moving forward. And we should do that next time. We'll meet halfway and we'll go for a coffee. Get the lights up, get the rigs up.
Yeah.
Get the flat whites out.
Well, that's get the flat white. No, I think it's. Thanks for that, though. I think it's interesting. I also wanted to stimulate whether people themselves, and you know, if they were listening, to get in contact as well about what they feel around that area. But it's something definitely I'm thinking more and more about, which would be interesting. What else do I want to ask you? Yeah, I think you've kind of touched on it a little bit. Did you? What people always ask it. Again, it's like when something's been asked so many times, I'm always a bit like, oh God, don't say the same words. So like, I'm going to say it anyway because then you'll know what it means. But like, therapists, obviously, we've done some research. Actually, that might be a better way of saying it. We've done a scorecard.
Yeah,
I don't know if I sent you the scorecard. Must do. Yeah. Yeah, so on there is quite interesting because some of the data we're getting back now is really interesting with regards to therapists, which is they're mainly therapists at the moment. We're hoping to see across all healthcare professionals. But they're like 47% of the people, and it's in the hundreds, are not happy in their job, you know. Wow. Filling out but about 90% of people know where they want to get to, right? So they're not happy, but they know where to get to. And then another, I think, it's about half again, 45, 46%, know the barriers to getting where they want to get to, but don't do anything about it.
Staggering. Wow. Yeah.
So it's like, when we were trying to think of what does the education space need? What does the conference space need? What do physios or therapists need to get where they need to be? And it's kind of slightly like, wow, people are not happy. And so my question to you then is this kind of like, or just a conversation really, is the barriers that these physios have. Like you hear people, and the term I mean is imposter syndrome, which, you know, you hear this so many times done to death now, and everyone has their different versions of it because everyone's trying to be a bit more clever than the last person. But the idea is it's fear of failure, isn't it really? You know, at least it's that fear that I'm not good enough, which again is, you know, for different reasons people have it. How do you think we can help that?
Multiple ways of helping. So the thing about, there's two sort of facets or two strands to my answer here. One is me actually experiencing imposter syndrome myself and how I've dealt with it. The other one would be how you can help with it. So my simplistic look at this would be that whatever you learn tomorrow or today, you'll be better tomorrow. So if you layer up your knowledge, no matter how you go about it, in small steps, big steps, as long as you're doing something about it, you're going to go on that journey. So the thing about the next step is making that booking or making that course or reading or finding that research that takes you to that next level. It's that next step. Can you help yourself by doing something to make yourself more knowledgeable? And that will layer up where you're going. I think it depends on your work environment. Have you got a toxic work environment? Are people constantly keeping you in a box? Are you able to produce what you want to produce in that area of work? And are you facilitated in the right way to get to that point? And that's where courses come in, where you can, if they know what they want to achieve and they know where they're going, that's where we can hopefully help link them together and say, right, you need to go over here, you need to go over there and do that course. That's going to help you achieve it. But I'm not wanting to use the same word because you've used the imposter syndrome, but we'll go with it. We'll go with it. That has been a huge thing for me. So I've really only become present on social media and webinars, webcasts, things like this for the last 2 years. And it's been sort of like a stone in my shoe. So I qualified in 2005, did my master's in 2008, finished in 2011. I've done lots of external courses. And I've always wanted to do this because I'm quite a confident person, outgoing, no problems talking to people. But when it comes to a professional setting or talking about things that have a professional reputation like this, I just do the opposite. I melt, absolutely melt. And I think the big thing that came about that was I was working with one of the orthopedic consultants about 2 or 3 years ago, and he had it up on the computer, it was like the screensaver and the definition. And I came into the room and I was like, what are you doing? And he's like, does that ring true to you? And I read it and I was like, oh yeah, can't sort of recognize it. And he was trying to hold a mirror up to me and say, look, you're better than you think you are. You've got all these skills, but you're not. You sort of hiding away from it. And then I took the plunge, and you're like, oh, I'm going to do something on social media, and I don't know whether I'm going to get a good reception or not. And I was terrified, absolutely terrified. I'd thrown myself out there. And the analogy I'd put is I jumped off a cliff without a parachute, and I thought, well, I'll see if I land. And I just threw out some stuff, and then I started getting this good feedback, and people were liking it, and it blew up. And I was like, oh, I don't know what to do now. And I was listening to Adam Meekins on your podcast, I think 3 or 4 episodes ago, and he was saying that people approach him and say, how have you done this with social media? What have you done? And he goes, I ain't got a clue. I have no idea what I've done. And I'm in exactly the same boat. But what it's given me is a stepping stone and a confidence to go out there and say, look, I don't have all the answers. I've got loads of gaps in my knowledge. I'm happy to say that. I'm happy to stand there and say, the things I don't know and I need to keep learning, but this is what I do know. And if you want to get a value out of that and listen to me, and I can guide you down a sort of route that I think's right, and the research will back up, then I'm happy to do that. But I think there's a lot of people like me out there, probably more so than we realise, and it's how we help them overcome that and say, look, I've been there, I've done it, worn the t-shirt. There's nothing wrong with feeling that you don't know things. It's how we go about teaching you those things, or you search for those things.
So our theory as well, and is exactly what you just said, and what we said earlier on, which is the collaboration piece, which is you had to walk into a room, so you were doing all these bits, and somebody's gone to you, like by a bit of luck, I suppose. But as I say, you make your own luck type things. You were obviously in that room with this guy, and he went, "Look at that, is that you?" And then kind of again, it's like what that other ESP said to you as well, yeah, when you had the Dalmatian thing. It's just these switches, but it's. So you can imagine if we can get people together, sooner, or you realize, so I think the anti-imposter syndrome is collaboration. Because again, you're just like, one of the best things that ever happened to me was speaking to Joe Gibson. Rang me up to organize a course, Joe is actually sound as a pan, it's her best quality by a lot. She's very good with shoulders. She's all right at shoulders. But I remember she read, but her best quality from me, the biggest thing was, and it's the old Halland humble. She's the most humble person I've ever met when it comes to it, and it boosted me up so quick. So meeting somebody who is at that level, and who I remember watching on a conference a couple of years previous with Jeremy Lewis and somebody else, and all the top people were there, and I was like, Jesus, well, I wasn't even thinking about standing on a stage with somebody like that, and now I was standing in front of her teaching her about this. But then the community, I always say, she gets embarrassed, but it's a life changing story. So when that happened, though, it did just make me go that if I was to speak to somebody like that earlier, so those people in Liverpool, I was like, wow, you had this all the time. You were probably a bit spoiled. It's
not another level to go.
Not realizing it, So yeah, sometimes you need to probably maybe go out of it, even if you are. Like I was in London with some top guys as well, but I had to kind of go away to realize. And then the same thing. When I met Joe as well, it's like you kind of nearly need to not be with Joe, because you probably think, oh, she's just sounding humble anyway. But somebody, Adam Meekins or whoever it might be, or Kieran O'Sullivan, you name it, like they might be a certain way. But you can only do that when it happens. So that only can happen through collaboration, because if you're not putting yourself alongside your peers and getting them to ask these questions, then you're never going to know, or it's going to take a lot longer, isn't it?
Absolutely. I've worked with Jo as well, and that is the one quality that she's so open, and she's able to just be herself and be humble and think. And I've tried to watch that as well, because I've been on a journey really where I've watched a lot of her courses and taken a lot of what she said and run with it, and you could just feel like you're able to have a normal conversation with her without feeling like you are an idiot, really, which is it's a really good skill to have, because it means that you are built up, and then you feel that you're able to be a bit more confident and show your cards. I talk about this a lot. So the thing that you qualified staff do is they hold back what they don't know, and they hide it away sometimes, and it's a dangerous quality to have, because when you start out, I think you think you're being judged and you're being almost marked against a benchmark from word go. And the thing I try and drum into all the band fives, band sixes that join me is, don't shy away from what you don't know. Come to us. If I tell you where to find that and I signpost you to a resource that you read about, and you don't go and do it, then we've got an issue. But if you show me what you don't know and we can help you, that's what I'm here for. I'm here to help guide you what you don't know, and that's what Jo does. And you'll be in the same boat. You drop her an email or you ask her for a bit of help, and she's straight there with the help. I don't know how she must have an 8th day of the week or something, because she's just like Superwoman.
Yeah, but you find the same people who I've obviously invited a lot of them on my podcast as well. They've all been the same. It's not just, Jo stands out because of that thing that she did for me when I did that. I'd like to teach as well.
Yeah,
like to do it in front of her. That was and still sit at the back and just be. But I felt confident. Don't know what she did. It's weird because you would have thought you would have melted, wouldn't you? But it was because it was a topic of she met me in the It was, again, I'm trying to take from that story and every time and share it, because again, it was like she just did it perfectly because she picked me up. I didn't just meet her there. She picked me up in the car. So we were having a laugh in the car. It was just normal shit. Oh yeah, Joe's picking you up. Grant, I'm in the car now. Here's the NHS department. It's like so super normal. I was just like, oh yeah, and then we were just chatting. So by the time it got to the point of teaching, I was like, this is, you kind of nearly gave me that feeling as well. No one else knows this shit, so that's why they're here on the course. Otherwise, they wouldn't have put the course on. Do you know what I mean? So it was just layered, and that's why I think we probably need to. You just said you've done. Lucky people who are working with you to have that kind of approach, that kind of nice. We said like there's a good way to do it, but to be able to get that out of somebody is a real skill, and then that will just only promote that department to be even better. And like you said, with the stuff that you're doing around promotion of,
it's got to be collaborative learning though, because I tell this story all the time, but the amount of stuff I've learned from band fives and band sixes across it doesn't matter what level you are, it doesn't matter, it's just a number and it's a badge. A good physiotherapist should be able to teach someone else something new, because it's evolving all the time and the research is just evolving all the time. So I try and do that two-way street where I'll actually build them up and say, you've taught me this. I didn't know that before you came along, and I've gone away and I've researched it. And that, like, I've done that. And you're like, yeah, of course you have. Because if you were arrogant enough to think you knew everything, then, well, you're in the wrong job, frankly, because that's why it's called practice, because you're never going to get perfect at it. There's things evolving. I mean, when I started, everyone were lined up in cubicles having shortwave put on the shoulder. And it's come a hell of a long way now to an S&C gym where we've got an upper limb and a lower limb, a delineated program where they can go and split into different areas. So that's 20 years. Another 20 years, we could be doing all sorts of different things. So if you were arrogant enough to think you've clocked it and you've got everything in your locker, then you're wrong, and you're going to fall flat. You're going to fall foul of it.
That reminds me of somebody else as well. Andrew Jackie, again, another shoulder head. When we were doing the course of Stanmore, and I would say something, or I said something, and she just turned around. She went, and she made it like it was really good though, because she kind of went, I don't fucking know this. Like, when we were in the press, she goes, because obviously she's, again, well renowned, really well respected, but she was really good at being able to go, I don't know that shit. Like, or this is really, we could use that. Right. She was like steal, like I find that's what when I go on a course or a conference, it was like that. It's like you're stealing. That's a great nugget. I'm having that one. That's going to make my life easier. The only, I suppose, different is you just have to take less nuggets the more your experience, but you're like, actually, that's better than what I'm doing now. So I'm going to have that, and I'm just going to reshape it to how I deliver it. And it's such it's nearly a great buzz. We're in a sick way, and I wouldn't have guessed it when I was younger. I don't know if you feel the same though. That position of power that you have is such a, it's a privilege as well, but it's that kind of ability of, you can make somebody's life really, like, you can really properly change it if you can kind of say, I didn't know that. That's brilliant. I'm having that all day long. I get a great buzz off that. It's weird. It's kind of like you know what I mean? Not in a kind of patronizing way. It's a bit like, because that if you were in that position, 100%. You'd buzz as well. It's a weird.
You get it back and forth, yeah. But I only want to pay that back in a way. I'll pay it forward because of what I experienced when I went through that journey. I had some cracking team leaders that really guided me along the way, and it's that's just luck again, and that's what's helped me get to where I am. And then the mentorship that I've had has been layer upon layer. So now it's like the consultants I work with, and again, I'm blessed with two absolutely amazing consultants I work with. They're the friends really now, but they were colleagues first, and the amount of learning, it continues to go on, but you're never meant to feel stupid or that you can't ask a question. And as long as you're showing willing, you're continually reading, or you've been signposted something, you say, yeah, I read that, I read the Hertel article the other week and I know what you're saying now, and then have you thought about it from this angle? And then it becomes that two-way discussion rather than it be one-way fed all the time. But yeah, absolutely. And it's that buzz, isn't it? It's that dopamine hit. Oh, you've done something good, so let's give it back.
Yeah, and it's contagious, isn't it? It's like what you said about today's thing. What's the word? I'm so buzzed by that awards day thing. You know what I mean? That kind of, it's just that kind of, motivation
out
of nothing.
It's a simple thing, isn't it? But it's just simple. It just says, look, we've thought about you, and we want to put something back, and that's what we don't have. Sometimes time to get off the spinning wheel. You're on that roundabout all the time, trying to make the waiting list, better. You're trying to give the patients the right thing. You try to look after your staff, cover IPRs, and it's about like let's just step back and see what's positive here. If you get a team that are motivated, they want to come into work, you reduce your sick days. It's well documented, well researched. You've got more output, more input. It's just a good thing to get on that positive spiral and keep going around.
It's absolutely brilliant, and I'm really hoping that people take that on. I think it's a great idea. Look, I could keep going and going here. It's brilliant. I really enjoyed the conversation. Anything you'd like to say, just to finish up? Anything that we haven't covered that that maybe come into your head before
we were talking earlier about your food analogy. A couple of bits that I've been.
Oh yeah.
Badgering you about. I love that. In fact, it was quite interesting when you brought that up, because where I work, it's quite culturally diverse. And when you came up, you delivered the S&C course that you do, Unraveling Strength and Conditioning, and you started talking about it, and I thought, oh my God, he's going to get cancelled here. He's going to get cancelled. He's talking about Indian food. And I was literally about to rise from my chair and come down and grab you, and then you explained the concept of the food analogy. I was like, this is absolutely brilliant. And then it's come around in full circles where I've read it in magazines and seen it on like I think I've forgotten what the MSK website is now, but I've read it a few times. I thought, yeah, really, really on that. And then it got me thinking about your basic premise is that you've got this Italian recipe for someone who's not the normal athlete. They're quite sedentary and they've got limited experience in sort of workouts, and they're not someone who's going to the gym regularly compared to an Indian recipe who's got lots of spices, balance. You've got someone who's doing things regularly and they're going to the gym 6 times a week. And then in between, that Mexican analogy where you're trying to tweak 1 or 2 different things to make a different dish. And I was looking at it thinking, I don't know what it was that just came to me. I thought, there's an analogy here to make this almost like a 3x3 grid, and add the biopsychosocial side in. And we see this massive wealth of different variants, of biopsychosocial issues from people who've been unfortunate enough to be really down on the luck from a financial point of view, to psychological abuse when they've been younger, to language barriers, to employment barriers, to all sorts of different things that we have to sift through. We're quite good at it down at our place because it's something that we have to work from both ends of the spectrum. And I thought, well, there are people that we see that want to do the almost like a transactional response, where they want to come in, maybe I hate using the analogy of using a sheet of exercises because it's not good practice, it's not what we advocate for, but they want something quick and fast, maybe like a symptom modification process where you go in and you get something done and you think, all right, you can move my arm much more freely now, it's less pain, go away and crack on with that. And they want that transactional quick stop approach. I've got what I want, now I can leave, done. And that's what they're comfortable with. And then you've got this next group that want that full package of physiotherapy experience, a bit more of the biopsychosocial input. They've got maybe young children, they've got issues going on around the work-life balance, and they need that work up a little bit more. So you're going through that full experience of a full 3-course meal. And then you've got your people who are maybe really, really unfortunate. They've got a lot of things going on. They would be the Michelin star patient. They've got a full wine flight going on with a 7-course taster menu that you've got to really invest in. And if you do not get that recipe right, you're getting a complaint to the manager. So you've got to get that bang on. And then you could cross it across. You've got your Italian recipe that might be fast food, so they're someone who's not doing as much exercise, but they want that transactional thing, compared to your Michelin star Indian recipe where you really are challenged. You've got that massive biopsychosocial issue you've got to work through, but you've also got that skilled mix of trying to make the exercise prescription very specific to them. And I just thought it was a way of possibly extending that and then talking about a collaboration in that. It's just me being cheeky and saying, look, I've got an idea.
It's not cheeky at all. I think it's great. I think it's a real compliment. I'm just happy that I just knew how exercise prescription is so difficult, and it's a complex, like pain. In some ways it's biopsychosocial, and there's different factors that affect it. So adding on the type, because actually when you were just saying it there, so I see a lot of people in private practice who are actually Indian food, but they do come for fast food. So they come to go, I'm getting the shoulder pain when I'm doing my snatch. So they're doing 15 different exercises 6 days a week in a CrossFit gym, but they get pain when they snatch, and it's with their shoulder. And they come in, I have a look at it. Shoulder's pretty good. It's a technique type thing. So I'm like, tweak your technique. They go, oh, sweet. I'm out of here. Happy days. I don't need a full course of treatment, or they're a PT who understands the exercise. You're just tweaking little bits. So it's, as you said, it's like we could go really, I'm sure people who've never heard this analogy will probably be like, what are these fuckers on about? You have to go read the article. Yeah. Or come on the course. So this idea, though, it's brilliant because it does mix it up, and I will be using this on I started to do it a little bit on my course before as well. It's just, but I don't want to overwhelm people. But it works perfectly because you're right. You think the person who needs all that time, and it's that your complaint was a good analogy. If you get this wrong and you mess up a Michelin star, you're going to get you paid a lot of money for something. You're going to complain about it. You know what I mean? So if you've seen loads of people and you've had all this stuff going on and you just get it wrong. So I really like it. And I think if we do this collaboration, which we will obviously, and get that out maybe a bit more clear than how I'm describing it, but it can definitely work for the different amounts of exercise you give people, whether you're giving someone one exercise or whether you're giving them 10 exercises. The idea is that how are you delivering them and how frequently? And it also ties in with me and Adam are also in agreement as you don't have to see people 10 times, 5 times, 4 times. I see so many people in private practice once. It's unbelievable amount of times. And I used to do a lot of 90 minutes. I've reduced it down because even then I think that's been sometimes too long. That's been an adjustment of mine. So the 60 minutes is actually, people are like, yeah, it's good value. I just needed this. And then people always go, well, how do you retain customers? I said, because if you give that good quality, that, if 5 Guys make a really dirty burger quite nice, do you know what I mean? It's a bit naughty, you know what I mean? And it's just, it gets in, gets out. You're not going to pay 25 quid for it, but it's reasonably expensive, but it's not that. You get in, get out. And I think people will turn around and go, that's a really good burger. So hopefully they come into the, and they go, he only saw me once and he actually was trying to nearly not get me to come back in some ways. That's only going to spread a good reputation, isn't it, really?
With good integrity, you try to do the best you can in the most concise way, and you're trying to help the patient out by, adding value to them quickly. So of course it is. It's going to be a win-win for both. And word of mouth is a much better recommendation than any 5-star review you can get on a website or like word on social media, because it means more to people that know each other.
Yeah, and that comes back to full circle to the collaboration as well. Other people sit in their little tribes and groups and trust. And this is the thing I'm really interested in. I was looking at Noah or Yuval Harari. He does the Sapiens, very famous guy. He's a great book called Sapiens on the history of mankind. And he has a really great TED talk as well if people are interested. And he starts off with this idea of basically we as humans were no different than jellyfish, at the beginning. We're no better than them. It was just, these are inanimate, these are biological structures. And then he just talks through all the way that we've got to where we are at, which is basically collaborative trust in groups. So we're just able to do it in large amounts and be able to generate some sort of tribal trust in order to be able to get there. And if we can remember that's how we are the top of the food chain, then how do we get to the top of the food chain in your life where you want to get to is the same thing, because you can't do it all by yourself. someone will ask you a question. Someone might be direct one day to you and you might not like it, but then that might change your career. Or somebody might be put their arm around you. And then for you, both of those things happened. And it was like, right,
epiphany
shit,
moment.
I need to do something about that. So if you could, yeah, it is. So it kind of comes back to everything we've been saying as well. And even like me and yourself, you come up with an idea like that. I'm like going, definitely, like what you said, oh, did you buy in Collaborative? I was like, oh, fucking right, I will. It's like, God, you just, if more people hear about it's not for me to kind of go, oh, I've got the secret recipe for people. It's like, it's just a way of maybe helping people kind of figure out exercise prescription. And if other people are into it, and like, you know, it's no different than jamming with another drummer or a musician. You want to do it, don't you?
But it's like the rappers, they always collaborate with each other. And it's like, yeah.
Yeah, Wu-Tang Clan.
I'm the Antichrist of a rapper, but you know.
No, that. Finished the first time finished podcast on. Yeah, that's it. We are basically with a Wu-Tang of physios. That's all. I'm gonna end it at that point. That's brilliant, Matt. Thanks a million for joining me.
Thanks for listening to Teacup. If you liked it, tell all your friends. If you didn't, well, maybe you'll like the next one. Go to procareeducation.com or Procare Education on Instagram for more information on courses and the Bamboo Project. And remember, always be sound and not a dickhead.